Rebecca. It's so good to see you again. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling a little better this week about things than last week for sure.
Well, I'm glad you're back today, and I just wanted to share real quick with you again the type of therapy that I plan on using. It is called cognitive behavioral therapy. Now, what does that mean, you might wonder? This therapy will focus on the interactions of your environment and your behavior. Now, going a little bit further, it also focuses on the role of the mind and specifically on cognition as determinant of feelings and behaviors. For example, what it might look like. We will discuss an event in your life, and from there, we will see how you interpret this event, and then understanding your thoughts and feelings behind the event, understanding what your core beliefs are and how we can move forward. Does that sound good, or do you have any questions?
No, I think I understand, and that sounds good.
Okay, great. I know we talked briefly about your sister last week. How is she doing?
She's doing okay. She is at least being receptive to me at this point. She has added me on social media, so I can see what her and the boys are up to on there. So that's good.
Well, I'm so glad she added you. That's great. So when we last talked, you mentioned reaching out to her, and so it sounds like you did that, and that's really great. Plus, you said the conversation went all right, and she added you on social media. That's wonderful. Now, Rebecca, how do you think? What do you think would be good for us to discuss today?
Well, I'm finding that I'm having anxiety when it comes to dealing with her and responding or reaching out to her. And I just don't want to feel this way. I want to be involved in her life and her in mine because, she's my sister and I only have one.
Well, that's totally understandable. She's your blood and she's your family, and you want to be involved, and you have, her boys. So I totally understand. That does sound challenging. Now, I can hear you say in your voice that you express some concern as you talk about the situation.
I do. I have concern because, she's my sister and I want her to want me to be involved in her life. But sometimes I don't even know what to say when it feels like she doesn't want me to be involved. And then I just have anxiety because of all these feelings, and it just really kind of makes it harder to try.
Well, that is totally understandable. It sounds like you have anxiety because you believe maybe she doesn't want you to be in your life, and then you have a hard time trying to reach out. Does that kind of sound like what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm hesitant to try to reach out to her because I just don't want to get rejected and feel hurt by her. She is my only sister and she's just the only one that can fulfill that role. And so she has a way of affecting me, and I just wish we could go back to how things were and, joke around like we have at times and just having a feeling of, wanting to be in each other's lives.
Well, I'm really proud of you, and I think that's good that you want to work on this because, especially if she's your only sister and she's your family, that's really important to you, and I can tell that that's important to you. So that's a good thing. And I can see that you have some motivation and some willingness to try, and I know that you love your sister. So let me ask you this. You mentioned that being at a loss. Have you been able to think of some ways maybe you might be able to interact with her since last week?
Well, we used to joke around a lot and text each other and schedule things to do together with my nephews. So those are some ways that I could interact with her.
Well, good. That's good. I'm glad that you thought about it, and I'm proud of you for also thinking about that. That's great. What we can do right now is think of some ways that could help you figure out, ways that you could feel comfortable talking to her. And I know some of your automatic thoughts are going to frustration and anxiety. I can feel that even when you talk, I can tell. And what you described is something that I would like to call overgeneralizing. And this is, a cognitive distortion that sometimes we naturally go to, that you continue to view your sister in a negative light. And it feels as though the situation is never going to end, that she doesn't want you in your life, and there's nothing you can do to fix it. So let's look at things that we already know. You've already mentioned that your nephews are a way that, you guys used to connect and you used to get together. So let's brainstorm. How often are you interacting with your sister right now?
Well, I reached out to her recently, but right now it's like once every couple weeks at the moment.
Okay, so when you are interacting with her, what does that usually look like? And with that being said, how does she react, or even how do you react when you talk to her?
Well, she just kind of sends blah responses. She doesn't really, try to engage with me. Most of the time she'll respond, but she doesn't like ask me how I'm doing and what's going on in my life. It's just kind of like cut and paste. She just answers my question. But I also really don't ask any more questions when I start getting these like, kind of blah responses from her. So I just kind of keep it to a minimum of what I need to ask at that time.
Well, I can totally understand how that could be frustrating, and understandably, you want to feel like she wants to have a relationship with you because that's what we want from relationships. We want to feel wanted, and you want to be involved in your sister's life as well. Do you feel that you have a generality of not feeling connected with others in conversation, or do you think this is mostly just with your sister?
Well, I have felt like that, before. I've had some social anxiety, I think, in some situations, and it's generally a little tough for me to reach out to people. I would say, this may not be specifically with my sister alone, but I have a general tendency to think that I'm not wanted in other people's lives at times too. So.
Well, with you saying that and, feeling that maybe this is generally something that impacts your other relationships, I want you to think about what you can do this week, maybe some goals that we can formulate to help you love her better and trust God with your conversation.
Well, I really like that. Leaving our conversations to God to control and, just give me a good outcome his way. So I could try reaching out more and ask how she's doing and, how my nephews are doing, even though I feel like she doesn't really want me to be a part of her life. Um, I just don't like feeling that way. It can just be hard to push through.
Absolutely. And I can see, where that might be a concern for you. And I do think this is a good goal for you to start in reaching out to her and just, asking how she's doing and how the nephews are and asking the Lord to help you in your words. Maybe try to have some more lighter conversations instead of, feeling like it's so disconnected and so just blah. And I really think it could be helpful to keep praying to the Lord and asking for wisdom and practical ways that you can be more intentional with your conversations and with your words, and maybe even asking to pray for her. Are there any more goals that come to mind that you want to work on next week?
Well, I could definitely try asking her if she needs me to pray for her in any way and let her know that I'm thinking of her. I would just really love to feel comfortable with reaching out to her.
Now, I want to ask you if you were to rate your anxiety on a 1 to 10 scale this week, with 1 being no anxiety at all about the relationship or the conversation, and 10 being so much anxiety that you can't even have the conversation, you're, having physical responses, sweating or anything like that, where would you say you are today?
Um, I'd say a 5. Like I have anxiety, about thinking about even reaching out to her just because I don't like want to get rejected. I don't want to feel like she doesn't want me in her life. But it's just my nephews. Like they just really kind of fuel this thing where I just really want them to know I'm in their lives. So I would say a 5.
And now, do you think this goal of reaching out to her more and maybe trying to have lighter conversations would help you maybe just move up 1 number on the scale? If
Yeah.
you guys were able to, have those lighter conversations, maybe even just a little bit of interaction like that, would that help you?
Yeah, I think, if we could just at least have some response going back and forth, maybe talking about lighter conversation would be, a good idea. But yeah, that would move me up.
Great. Well, now, and being able to speak with her and just trying to do life together as sisters, I think that is, something that is really honorable that you want to work toward, and family being important to you, and with it being your only sister, I think that that's great. So now, with all of that said, can you summarize what we've discussed today, and even what to be, changing in your mind throughout the week?
Well, I know I need to push through and message my sister. At least, maybe just let her know I'm thinking about her and ask how my nephews are doing. And that way it kind of won't be about myself. It'll be about them. And, just reach out on a lighter note too, just like, something that's not very heavy. And that could be something that, could bring us together a little more. I also know it'd be a kind thing to ask her if I need to if I could pray for her in any way and just show her that I do genuinely love her. But most importantly, I'm taking away too that I need to trust the Lord with our conversations.
And I mean, the power of prayer is, it's infinite. God is all powerful and he's omniscient and he hears us. So I think that's great that you want to pray for her. I think that's a really, really good thing to, start doing in your life, and maybe just daily say a little prayer for her. And I think you've created a very clear picture of ways that you can interact with her and, even ways that you can better trust the Lord with your situation. Now, let me ask you this. Is there anything that I could have done to make this a little bit of a better session for you?
I think it was a great session. I just think maybe we could next time maybe go into my social anxiety that I have, and just that general feeling that I may not be wanted in some people's lives, and explore that. But other than that, I do feel more hopeful about reaching out to my sister and making our conversations more God focused than about me and how I feel.
Okay, great. Well, I can definitely keep that in mind for our next session. And I just want to thank you so much for coming into the clinic today, Rebekah. And it was really good to see you again. And, I hope you have a great rest of your week. And I'll be praying for you as you interact with your sister and try to, give you those words to just make things a little bit lighter and help the conversation feel a little bit less weighed down.
Thank you. I appreciate our session today. It's always refreshing, to remember to put our focus back on God and situation or ourselves. And I look forward to trying out these lighter conversations with my sister. So I look forward to our session next week.
Thank you so much. You take care.
You too.